All Systems Red by Martha Wells. The story is narrated by a security unit, or SecUnit, a construct made of cloned human tissue fused with machine components, designed for security and combat. This particular SecUnit secretly refers to itself as Murderbot. Years ago, it managed to hack its governor module, the component that forces obedience to corporate commands and client orders, instead of going on a killing spree. It discovered it could access entertainment feeds via satellite and has since spent thousands of hours consuming shows, movies, and music, developing a dry, cynical internal monologue and a deep preference for avoiding messy human interactions. Despite its freedom, it continues to perform its security duties, primarily because letting anyone know about the hacked module would result in its destruction and dissection. Murderbot is currently contracted to PreservationAux, a small scientific survey team assessing a newly discovered planet's resources. The team includes the calm and competent leader, Dr. Mensa, the friendly biologists Rathi and Arata, who is partnered with the equally kind Oversee, the construction expert Pinley, who is sharp and sometimes exasperated, the quiet, augmented human, Dr. Durathan, and geologist Dr. Valescu. Another geologist, Dr. Bharadwaj, is also part of the team. Murderbot finds the contract boring, preferring its downloaded serials like Rise and Fall of Sanctuary Moon, while Valescu and Bharadwaj are collecting samples in a large crater on a coastal island. The ground beneath them erupts. A massive, hostile subterranean creature with a huge mouth bursts out. Murderbot reacts instantly, sending its visual feed to Dr. Mensa back at the main assessment site and leaping into the crater. It pulls the grievously injured Bharadwaj from the creature's maw, shoves itself in as a replacement target, and discharges its built-in weapons down the hostile's throat before it retreats underground. Bharadwaj is unconscious, bleeding heavily from leg and side wounds. Murderbot's own left arm armor and organic components are shredded, but its non-organic parts function. It ignores conflicting system commands, prioritizing Bharadwaj's survival based on med-system data. Valescu is frozen in shock nearby. To get him moving, Murderbot retracts its helmet, revealing its standard-issue, human-like face, and speaks calmly, coaxing him to help get Bharadwaj out of the crater. Towing the panicked Valescu and cradling the bleeding Bharadwaj, Murderbot struggles up the sandy slope. At the top, a small hopper piloted by Dr. Mensa lands swiftly. Pinley and Arata rush out, Murderbot, unable to release its grip on Bharadwaj's suit to stop the bleeding, receives permission from Mensa to enter the human crew cabin, a breach of standard protocol. Inside, Oversee and Rathi frantically make space. The humans react with horror to Murderbot's visible injuries through its torn suit. Murderbot is glad its helmet is opaque again. It dislikes close proximity to humans, finding it awkward, and usually prefers riding with cargo. As the hopper prepares to leave, Rathi impulsively moves to retrieve abandoned equipment. Murderbot and the other humans yell no simultaneously, just as the hostile creature bursts through the ground beneath the closing ramp. Mensa pilots them away forcefully. During the tense flight back to the habitat, Arata and the others work frantically to stabilize Bharadwaj, with Murderbot assisting numbly, trying to be unobtrusive while clamping wounds and using its failing body temperature control to keep her warm. The PreservationAux habitat consists of 7 interconnected domes on a plane. Upon landing, Dr. Durathan meets them with a lift gurney. Murderbot relinquishes Bharadwaj and secures the habitat, setting seismic monitors and drone perimeters before retreating to the security ready room, its designated storage and repair space. Its performance reliability is critically low. After shedding its damaged armor and applying wound sealant, it wraps itself in a survival blanket and climbs into its charging cubicle, intending to repair and watch media. Dr. Mensa knocks and enters the cubicle, concerned after seeing its damage report, 20% body mass lost. Murderbot, awkward and exposed without armor, tries to downplay its injuries. Mensa commends its handling of Valescu, noting it overrode med-system's potentially flawed assessment of his shock. She seems surprised, having previously protested being assigned a SecUnit at all. Murderbot deflects, attributing its actions to standard protocols for constructs with organic components. After Mensa leaves, Murderbot reviews its own recording of the incident, startled by how much it talked to Valescu, even asking about his family. It wonders if media consumption is affecting it. It also notices a logged abort command from Hub System during the rescue attempt, dismissing it as a glitch before its systems force an emergency repair stasis. When Murderbot reactivates 8 hours later, it is mostly repaired, 80% efficiency. Mensa summons it to the crew hub. Having no undamaged armor immediately available, Murderbot dons a standard survey team uniform, gray pants, shirt, jacket. Entering the hub, the team except Bharadwaj, still in medical, and Valescu, sitting with her, doesn't recognize Murderbot without its armor and helmet. The reveal is deeply uncomfortable for everyone. Mensa explains they've found anomalies in the planetary hazard report. The section on fauna seems altered, missing the information about the subterranean hostel. Pin Lee suspects tampering. Murderbot examines the data feed and confirms a subreport on hazardous fauna has been deliberately deleted, not just glitched. The team is angry and concerned. They decide to cross-reference their survey package with Deltfall Group, another survey team on the other side of the planet. Mensa then unexpectedly offers Murderbot the option to stay and relax in the crew area. Mortified by the implication of being treated like a person, Murderbot reacts with visible horror, makes an excuse about checking the perimeter, and flees. Back in the ready room, it reviews the team's subsequent conversation. They discussed its reaction and kindly resolved not to push it, which Murderbot finds excruciating. It vows never to remove its helmet around them again. It puts on its spare armor. Later, Pin Lee and Gurathan discover 6 large sections are missing from their planetary map data. Mensa asks Murderbot if this seems like hacking or just shoddy corporate work. Murderbot suggests investigating one of the blank areas is the only way to know for sure. The team decides to take the small hopper to the nearest missing section, and Murderbot insists on accompanying them for security. During the flight in the small hopper, with Murderbot again awkwardly in the crew cabin, the autopilot glitches, nearly sending them into a mountain. Mensa, ever vigilant at the controls, manually corrects their course. Murderbot confirms it was another hub system error. They arrive at the target zone, a plain marked by ridges of dark, glassy volcanic rock. Scans are unreliable here. They land and begin collecting samples. The area is strangely quiet. While scouting, Murderbot watches Arata and Ratthi inadvertently walk past the designated safe perimeter toward a hazard marker. Their personal map displays are glitching, not showing the warnings. Murderbot intercepts them, pulling Ratthi out of a hot mud pit just in time. Realizing their systems are unreliable, they return to the habitat. Upon arrival, Murderbot stores but doesn't apply a routine update package delivered via satellite from Hub System. Later, Mensa reports a new, serious problem. They cannot establish communication with the Deltfall group. The team gathers, discussing the implications. Deltfall isn't answering comms, and their automatic emergency beacon hasn't activated. This is highly suspicious, suggesting either catastrophic equipment failure or something more sinister. Mensa proposes taking the large emergency hopper across the planet to investigate. She selects Pinley, Rythi, and Oversea to accompany her. Murderbot argues forcefully that its combat and crisis experience make it essential for such a mission, despite Mensa initially wanting it to stay and guard the habitat. The others remaining behind are Rada, Volescu, Bharadwaj via feed, though Gurathan remains silent, agree, and Murderbot is included. During the long overnight flight in the Big Hopper, Ratthi attempts to engage Murderbot in a conversation about its nature, its cloned origins, its potential feelings, the ethics of constructs. Murderbot is intensely uncomfortable. Oversea tries to intervene, and Mensa, alerted by Murderbot via the feed, firmly tells Ratthi to stop. Murderbot retreats to the back of the hopper. Mid-flight, the planetary communications satellite goes down, cutting them off completely from their habitat and any external hub system feed. Despite the ominous timing, the team decides to continue toward Deltfall. They arrive at dawn to find the Deltfall base outwardly intact but completely silent. All vehicles are accounted for. No external damage is visible, but comms remain unanswered, and their hub system and sec units are offline. Sensing extreme danger, Murderbot recommends landing outside the perimeter. Mensa agrees. Murderbot leads Mensa, Pinley, and Oversee toward the habitat on foot, leaving Rathi monitoring scans in the locked hopper. They find no signs of recent activity or forced entry. Murderbot sends Mensa and the others back to the hopper while it enters the habitat alone, sending them its camera feed. Inside, the air smells of decay. Murderbot finds a dead Deltfall sec unit near the hub entrance, killed by a close-range piercing weapon, likely a survey drill. The main hub contains 11 brutally murdered humans, victims of weapon fire. Moving further, Murderbot finds more bodies and realizes the attack came from within. It deduces the Deltfall sec units must have turned rogue. Near the connection to the second habitat, it finds a human body staged to look like a recent casualty, indicating an ambush. It alerts Mensa via coded message, then swiftly moves through the first habitat to the security-ready room and accesses the roof. Using magnetic clamps, Murderbot traverses the habitat roofs, approaching the ambush point in the second habitat from behind. Dropping down through a roof hatch into the ready room, it moves silently through the corridors, past more bodies. It confirms 2 rogue sec units are waiting in the connecting corridor. Launching a surprise attack, Murderbot engages them in a fierce firefight, disabling both but sustaining significant damage itself. Suddenly, a third rogue sec unit, one not listed in Deltfall's inventory, appears and attacks Murderbot from behind, disabling it with an energy weapon. Murderbot loses consciousness. It experiences flashes of awareness. Its helmet and upper armor are removed. It's being moved, placed face down on a table. It feels a sharp pain as something is forcefully inserted into the data port at the base of its neck. Regaining partial control, Murderbot fights back savagely, grappling with the unknown sec unit. It manages to force the unit's own arm weapon to discharge into its neck joint, then twists its head, breaking the connections. As it looks up, another unknown sec unit, the fourth hostile unit encountered, enters aiming a weapon. Before it can fire, Dr. Mensa appears behind it and impales it through the back with a sonic mining drill she retrieved from their hopper. Mensa pulls the heavily damaged Murderbot toward the exit. Oversee assists, and Rathi helps them aboard their hopper just as it lifts off. Aboard the escaping hopper, Murderbot realizes the device inserted into its neck is a combat override module, rapidly downloading instructions to take control of its systems. It understands this is how the Deltfall units were turned rogue. Knowing it will be forced to kill its clients, Murderbot tells Mensa she must destroy it immediately. The humans refuse. As Pinley scrambles to help, Murderbot grabs a hand weapon and shoots itself in the chest, initiating an emergency shutdown to prevent the override from completing. Murderbot awakens later on a medical table back in the PreservationAux habitat. Pinley and Over successfully removed the combat override module before it could fully integrate. However, Gurathan then reveals he accessed Murderbot's internal logs while it was deactivated and discovered its hacked governor module. He accuses Murderbot of being a rogue agent responsible for the sabotage they've experienced. A tense debate follows. Valescu confirms the hack, but argues Murderbot's consistent protective actions prove its trustworthiness. Rathi points out the extra, unidentified sec units at Deltfall. Bharadwaj and Over passionately defend Murderbot, highlighting its self-sacrifice. Murderbot, forced to speak, clarifies the company wouldn't sabotage them this way. Too expensive. It confesses the truth about its past. A governor module malfunction caused it to kill 57 miners on a previous contract. It hacked the replacement module to prevent such a loss of control from ever happening again. It admits Gurathan found its private name for itself, Murderbot, and explains its media habits are just that, not coded transmissions. It argues Hub System allowed Gurathan access as part of the external sabotage effort, trying to turn them against their protector. To prove Hub System lied about immobilizing it, as Gurathan claimed, Murderbot momentarily grabs Gurathan, pinning him, before Mensa calmly intervenes. Murderbot releases him. Mensa affirms her trust, asks Murderbot to remain with them, and swears she won't report the hacked module. Murderbot reluctantly agrees. Okay. It reveals the earlier sabotage attempts it experienced. the abort command, the autopilot failure, and the suspicious update package it never applied, which Valescu and Bharadwaj confirm contained the override code. They now understand an unknown third party, Evil Survey, Rathi dubs them, has compromised hub system and is trying to eliminate them, likely having done the same to Deltfall. Murderbot deduces this third party probably gained access to Deltfall by pretending to be PreservationAux needing help, realizing the habitat is compromised. Mensa orders it abandoned. As they frantically load supplies into the hoppers, a drone dispatched by Murderbot confirms their emergency beacon has been destroyed. Just as Evil Survey vehicles approach from the south, the team escapes in both hoppers, heading west into uncharted territory, leaving decoy drones heading northeast. They find refuge in a dense jungle area with rocky hills that confuse scanners. Murderbot struggles with its identity and newfound status. Realizing it can't abandon these humans, Mensa asks it to remove its helmet again to foster trust, which it does reluctantly. Rathi explains that Mensa is the administrative director of the Preservation Alliance, a non-corporate entity, making her a high-value individual. This means the company would mount a massive investigation if she disappeared, something Evil Survey likely doesn't know. Murderbot devises a plan to retrieve data from drones it left behind at their old habitat. It takes the little hopper back with Mensa, Pinley, Rathi, and a skeptical Gurathan. During the trip, Gurathan questions Murderbot about its past trauma and feelings toward humans. Murderbot dismisses blame as illogical. Near the old habitat, they retrieve the drone recordings. They identify the enemy as Grey Chris Corporation and watch footage of their operatives searching the habitat. Crucially, a drone recorded a Grey Chris leader, Blue Leader, leaving a message, aware they were being watched, offering a rendezvous to negotiate. Realizing Grey Chris knows they visited an unmapped remnant site, Bharadwaj has since identified alien remnants as the cause of map scan errors and thinks PreservationAux understands their illegal excavation motives. Mensa sees leverage. Murderbot proposes a risky bluff. Mensa and Murderbot fly to the rendezvous point near the Grey Chris base. Mensa contacts Grey Chris, claiming they've hidden evidence of Grey Chris's activities. Murderbot goes out alone as an envoy. Grey Chris attempts a remote governor module freeze pulse. It fails. Murderbot reveals the true hacked module but lies, claiming its clients don't know. It offers a deal, information vital to Grey Chris in exchange for safe passage off-planet, listed as destroyed inventory. To stall while Gurathan and Pin Lee sneak toward the Grey Chris base to manually trigger their beacon, Murderbot demands proof of its removal from inventory via the reactivated hub system feed. It then delivers its vital information, that PreservationAux members are already at the Grey Chris beacon site, preparing to launch it. Grey Chris panics. Blue Leader demands Mensa surrender, sending a Deltfall SecUnit to escort Murderbot back. In the trees, Murderbot ambushes and destroys the Deltfall unit, quickly swapping key armor pieces with Mensa's help to disguise itself as the captured unit and Mensa as its prisoner. Grey Chris falls for the ruse and takes them both in their hopper to the beacon site. At the Grey Chris beacon, located dangerously close to the potential launch zone, the deception is revealed when the last Deltfall unit recognizes Murderbot and attacks. As chaos erupts and the beacon ignites, Murderbot tackles Mensa off the plateau just as the launch blast engulfs the area. They survive the fall, though injured. Gurathan and Pin Lee, having successfully triggered the beacon, find them. They are all rescued by the PreservationAux transport ship summoned by the beacon. Murderbot, severely damaged, goes offline during transport. It awakens fully repaired in a company processing cubicle on a space station. Rathi joyfully informs it that Dr. Mensa has purchased its contract outright. It's going home with them to Preservation, where it will be a free citizen. Processing confirms its inventory status is cleared, and Pin Lee uses a court order to prevent the company from wiping its memory. They navigate reporters and arrive at a luxurious hotel suite, where the whole team waits. Mensa reaffirms the offer: freedom, citizenship, education, choices in preservation, with her acting as its legal guardian. Murderbot learns about Preservation Society and Mensa's life on a farm. It grapples with this future, the safety, the acceptance, but also the expectations. The need to interact like a person, the loss of anonymity provided by its armor, the concept of guardianship versus ownership. It realizes this is what it's supposed to want, but Murderbot doesn't want anyone else deciding what it wants. In the middle of the station's night cycle, it slips out of the hotel suite. Disguising itself as an augmented human dock worker, it makes its way to the port. It finds a bot-piloted cargo transport ship preparing to leave Corporation Rim and offers its extensive library of hoarded entertainment media in exchange for passage. As the ship departs, Murderbot sends a final encrypted message to Dr. Mensah, explaining that it had to leave to find its own way, truly free and out of sight. If you enjoyed this book breakdown, please consider liking this video and subscribing to get notified when we post our next book.